Hey guys, I'm Biff and welcome back to Fearless Mods, where today we are back to work on our 1990s era Toyota Celica. It was about a year ago that I was on the search for an All-Trac hood for my son's car and found out that those things cannot be found. They are not making hood scoops for them that you can install aftermarket. The next generation Celicas do have them, but not these guys. So we had a friend who had an All-Trac and we just took some molds off of his hood. We had some very challenging struggles in some challenging temperatures with a heater that kept dying and we kept falling below resin curing temperature, but we got the job done. And I brought those molds back here to Fearless Mods where they have sat for 1 year. In today's episode, we're gonna pull these molds out of storage and start prepping them for actually being able to make some parts in them. They are nowhere near ready. The end goal is to have good molds that in the next episode, we can go ahead and start laying some fiberglass. Okay, so the first thing here, looking at our mold, it's not perfect. It had a bubble in the outside of the fiberglass that clearly left a gap here. It is outside of the main shape of our scoop, but I do want to fill that in so I can get some good flat mold coverage out here, a couple other little voids here. But this one I definitely want to use some short strand filler to get some fiberglass in there. I also want to work this inner part of the lip here a little bit and just smooth it out with some of the same stuff to build it up, because what I'm going to do afterwards is kind of shape it the way I want the final product to be. And then where the tape was on the original hood, you can see the line here. I want to use some body filler to kind of smooth all that out, work this up perfect so we can get another bit of the mold coating onto it, wax it up real good for release, and hopefully make this extremely challenging area here that we're going to have to be able to pop out, not bond to all of this rough, bare fiberglass that's in here on the inside. We don't want that to happen. We may not be able to save the mold, but if we can, I'd like to. And at a minimum, I want to be able to get a good part off of it that requires just minor work afterwards to get it perfect. All right, first pass, got this guy covered in. We'll mix up one more little batch and try to work on this a little more. It is the next morning and this is a beautiful day. Not late, but deep into November. This is crazy. It's gonna be 80 today. So perfect weather for us to work on this and get all of our body work on these molds complete. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and sand these down. This one here is going to take a lot of work, so I'm going to be using this sander to try to get in here and really shape that the way I want it. And then once that's done, we can go in here with some body filler and just kind of smooth these over and get them perfect. And any of the other little blemishes we got right here with a little bit of body filler, get it as perfect as we can. And then my plan is going to be to work that down to a nice finish surface and then just spray paint it. Yeah, I'm disheveled. I had the mask on. This is a chore. You've been seeing me working in there real fine with some files, and I've got these two corners right here feeling really good. What I'm really trying to do is preserve this ridge around here, because this ridge is what will make it look like it has the separate inlet scoop that is attached into the hood bump. And so I got to be very careful when I try to get in here with this guy. I can't get in very deep because I start getting close to that ridge and I do not want to take that off. There's no chance of me rebuilding that. So somehow I got to get in here and keep smoothing this out. The challenge I'm trying to take care of here is, even though this will end up getting cut open after I pull the part off, it needs to be solid right now so I can lay fiberglass up in here, and it needs to be smooth enough that will allow the fiberglass to pull out like this when I remove the part, ideally. So I think I'm going to try some cutting blades, see if I can get in there and trim some of this to knock down the high points, and then make it easier to get in there with my files to smooth it out. The files are working pretty good. It's just a lot of detail work. Upper part doing pretty good. Get that bottom part, and then we'll be able to go in with some body filler and smooth it out and sand everything smooth where my sandpaper is really getting into my mold here. But it's down to the shape I want. I think it's working pretty good. Getting this inner edge smooth and making it where once we put the body filler in here, all this can be smooth is really just gonna help us be able to release the part from the mold once we form it in there. The inner hood scoop piece, actually, that lip wraps around in itself. This top part where I have it angling all the way down here to the bottom of the inlet, that would actually wrap around tightly and create a flat part along here, about like that. And we're clearly not gonna have that. So the main thing I'm trying to get on the lip is that front curl. The plan is after it makes that curve, you'll see it kind of wrap around, but that's about where it'll stop. It'll end up getting cut like right here instead of having the flat piece go in about another ½ inch. That's just how we gotta do it as a one-piece mold. Old body filler here from STI days. It's probably gonna need quite a bit of stirring. We'll see if it's still good. Should be good. It's not good when it looks black. A lot of liquid in there that needs to be stirred around. So we'll see what we can do here to get this mixed up. It's gonna take a minute. Okay, we're looking pretty good now. Much better. We've got a little popsicle stick here that we can use to try to get into that edge a little bit. All right, I'm pretty happy with that first pass. Okay, so we got the body filler on. Next, we're gonna get ready to sand it. I got in there with the eraser head of that pencil and was able to get that rounded corner in there pretty good. And this is a lot smoother now. It's still got some jagged edges and stuff like that. Not really jagged, but some little ridges and lumps and divots and pits that could cause a problem. But I think overall, it's gonna pop out much easier than it did before. It's gonna allow us to lay out way out here to the edge, which will be good. Flattened up the top here where that piece of tape was. It feels pretty smooth, a little bit of waviness right there maybe, but it's pretty smooth. Nice cut edge here that will fold over, and we'll know where to cut that when the mold comes out. And then like I was showing you in here, this is a lot smoother, and with that pencil head down in there, eraser, allowed me to clean it up pretty good. I'm just gonna do some crystal clear gloss to spray on this. I don't need it to look pretty. I just need it to have a good glossy finish. I'm going to clean this up, get some paint on it, and let it dry so that we can get ready to start laying some fiberglass on this thing. Let that dry, maybe put another coat on it, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, while that is down there continuing to dry on the floor, we can move on to the receptacles for the side vents on the hood. I wanted to make sure I got this edge of the hood, and there is an edge right at the edge of the red, which means I can go ahead and get rid of this fiberglass that's hanging over that's gonna get in my way when I try to do the mold. So again, we're getting all of our materials from FGCI, Fiberglass Coatings Incorporated. And we're gonna start with the mold release wax, high temperature mold release wax. When the fiberglass is curing on it, it doesn't melt, and it helps give it that releasability between this and the PVI coat that we'll put on it. So let's go ahead and get the waxing. So we gotta let that dry up good, buff it off, and then we gotta repeat that like 4 more times. Okay, and that is 5 waxings of these things. They are looking glossy smooth. Spray the PVA. I've been saying PVI, it's actually PVA. We need to spray the PVA on here. This time for the PVA, I am going to use a spray gun. So I've just got my Harbor Freight HTE. Should be able to hopefully push this stuff out, pour this directly into the tank, and we'll see how it works out. Mist coat has dried, and we are now ready to go ahead and put on our heavier coat. So I don't know why I have so much trouble with this PVA. Last time I tried to use a bottle sprayer and it came on in droplets. This time I laid it down nice, but it just likes to fisheye. So I think this is going to be good, but what I'll do is, I found out last time, is once I let this tack up a little bit, I should be able to kind of just brush over it and take care of a lot of that. I'm not concerned about the texture because again, this stuff dries down to like a complete flat film, but I do want to let this run down this way just a little bit. We'll let it tack up. I'll hit it with a brush and we should be good. I put a good heavy coat on there, so there should be plenty of material. Looking good. We'll let her firm up. All right guys, so we have got the PVA on here, is brushed out, and it has solidified. I'm not extremely happy with it. It did still have some runs here that didn't completely settle out, that I can feel slightly. So some of that will translate to defects in the actual part where you'll see these ridges and lines through there. But that's okay, because we're gonna have so much little touch-up bodywork and body filler that we're gonna need to do to the part when we pull it anyway, that this is just insignificant. I drilled a couple holes here. They're about 1/4 inch holes, one here, and then part right here. What that's going to allow me to do is, once the part is done and hardened and cured, I can take an air hose from the back side and blow through that hole and help to separate the part from the mold. The only thing I got to do is put a little sticker or something over the top of these holes so that my fiberglass doesn't like actually press down into there and bond to that area. And then I think we're ready to mix up some gel coat for our part and start getting that laid down. What I'm trying to do here is just get a piece that I know will fit down into the groove here, to give me a good piece of fiberglass down into the crevice. Because when I first apply all of my resin on here on top of the gel coat, I'm going to need something to ensure that I can get in there and get the shape that I want on the inside of this. That will give me a piece of cloth that will be the first one that I lay in when we start this. I got the first layer of fiber weave all cut into 3 sections. The one that will go around the mouth, and then 2 pieces that will come up and join at the mouth. The next layer we're going to want to put on is this fiber weave. This stuff is a little thicker, but it forms really good into the crevices when you get it wet. Once we do this twice, then we're going to go to our really thick fiber weave. This stuff actually looks woven. It's not just random fiber mat. This is a really thick weave. and try to get a finished backing product with one layer of this. Oh. Yeah, that's gonna be fun to get to try to mold to anything. I think this will work. This stuff's tough, but I've got it where I think I can do what I want to do. So we've got our woven cloth, and then we got 2 layers, 1, 2 of that crosshatch random fibers. Then we got our thick weave, then we got our peel ply, and then we got our felt to allow the air to move through as we vacuum bag it. I'll talk about the vacuum bags here very shortly, but I've got my stickers or tape covering these holes, so now when I put my gel coat on here, it doesn't seep through. I did get the gel coat on, and in fact, I was able to get 2 coats out of that mixture before it started drying out a little bit. So I was really happy I was able to do that because I don't think I'll need to come back over it again. Good and thick gel coat all around and underneath in here, as well as on these 2 parts. Definitely making sure we get the edges here, as well as the reference point to the edge of the hood on both of these. So we'll let this dry up, and once that dries up, we can start thinking about laying some fiberglass. All right, guys, when we last left off a couple weeks ago, and now maybe even 3 weeks ago, sorry, I let time get away from me, some vacations, some very cold weather, but we had just put down our gel coat for the surface of the parts, which has all hardened up. I've got the fiberglass in different spots. There's a little bit over there for these guys. I got my 3 different parts and pieces all lined up here. I've got my peel ply and my breather cloth and the vacuum bag. That's where we left off. The problem is, and I knew it the minute I rushed to try to get this gel coat on, knowing I wouldn't finish the job that day, I immediately did some checking on it and found out that you are not supposed to let this completely cure, because it's only supposed to cure for about 1 to 3 hours until it's like kind of tacky. You can touch it, but it doesn't come off on your fingers, but not completely cured. And what that allows is when you put the fiberglass resin on there, it actually forms a chemical bond with this surface. And we're not going to have a chemical bond because this is fully cured. So our next option is to make a mechanical bond. And the way we make a mechanical bond is we need to rough this surface up. So we're going to need to take some 60 or 80 grit and go over all of this, being very careful that we don't cut through in the edges like right here. So obviously I'm not going to sand on the top of this ridge because I don't want to sand that down, but I'm going to get as close to it as I can. It's going to be some detailed sanding. And I also want to be very careful because this thing is flexible to an extent, right? The mold, very flexible here back at the tabs. And I don't want to crack any of this. That is going to be a challenge because this stuff is very hard, very brittle, and without the fiberglass backing, I don't know if it's going to work. If we can't sand it, then unfortunately we are back to square one with taking all this stuff off and then starting again. What I'm going to use here is emery cloth. It is 80 grit, so I think it's going to do the trick here. I'm not trying to make this a smooth surface by any means. I want it to be a rough surface, and this might do the trick and it might not. I'm glad that happened right off to show us that this isn't going to work. The sandpaper grabbed some of that and peeled it back, and then you can see I just pluck it off. So this isn't going to work. All right, well, today's work just got longer. PVA and the black is coming off. So back to the top of the batting order. This stuff on the big scoop is coming off pretty nicely. And you can see we would have had a really nice finish there. This PVA is just so cool. The thin, wispy film that it creates just is making this work fantastic. I just wish that we didn't have to redo it. I am really kind of okay with it because I'd rather have a good chemical bond on my part to this surface than try to get a mechanical bond that might cause it to peel and flake underneath the paint in the future. I'm getting in here with this little pick. Main thing is getting everything up against this ridge and foreseeing that it might be, when we actually have a part, it might be a destruction of the mold kind of situation where we get one and done. It does go to show that we're also going to have to be very patient with this when we're trying to get the part out. Get the water in there and let it do its trick. We've got all of the old gel coat and PVA off, and while that is devastating, I am really happy with how it was capturing everything and the smoothness. Like, this is part of where it will wrap in for the inlets on the sides, the vents. It's nothing, it's trash. So I'm gonna clean all this stuff up, and then I'll blow these things off and let them get good and dried out. And then we'll start waxing them and go back to that whole process, wax and PVA. This is gonna be a long day if I stay the whole day here doing it. I have some thoughts on the fiberglass because there's a lot of resin that needs to be put down to put down the 4 layers I'm planning on. And it's gonna cure before I have a chance to get done and put a bag on it and suck it down to make it exactly what I want. So my thought is, it's cold outside. I think I can keep it, the high today is gonna be like 45, so at some point I will open the doors in here, probably after the PVA and as the gel coat is starting to cure. And I will open the doors and let it cool off drastically in here. I want to get it below the resin curing activation temperature, or at least towards the bottom of that zone, so it severely slows down the curing. And that way I'll have lots of time to mix up my buckets, get all that on these, especially the huge piece, and get all the layers good and saturated, get the vacuum bag sucked it down, then bring the temperature back up in here so that it can commence the curing process. For that reason, I'm kind of glad I'm doing it here during the winter months. And luckily, it's not 14 degrees out there like it was yesterday, because I wouldn't be able to work in that. But at 45, I can maybe get this done. So let's keep at it and see how much we can get done today. Okay, so we got the 5 coats of wax on, and I just put the first mist coat of PVA on there. Like you saw, I was speeding things up for the waxing with the heat gun. I'm gonna speed up the tackiness of this stuff with the heat gun a little bit too. It's about 70 degrees in here, so it's fine. I just don't wanna wait. Might try to accelerate a little bit, but I don't wanna damage the PVA. Now that we've got it waxed and we've got the PVA on, and I gotta say the second coat of PVA went down pretty nice. I put it on a lot heavier last time and had a lot of runs, and I don't know if it's because it's warmer in here this time or what, but it's definitely tackier quicker. And if you look at that, I mean, you can see that it's good coverage. I did use the brush because it likes to fisheye for some reason, but once it gets just a little bit tacky, which for me was only like a minute or two, it really starts to like the brush, and you can go over all those fish eyes and get everything kind of smoothed out. Last time it was all flowing down into the intake area and just pooling. That's not happening this time. And once this gets cured, we'll be ready to put on our gel coat, and then we'll be back to where we were this morning with gel coat on here. Still a lot of work to go, and it's these in-between pauses and delays where you just watch YouTube. And that's why I have that there. Put on Fearless Mods when you got one of these projects and just let it play on a loop end to end to end. Okay guys, well, we are gonna call that a wrap for mold prep. These things are now ready. We've got them cleaned up, body worked, and waxed and PVA'd. So in the next episode, we will jump into getting our gel coat laid down and start putting down layers of fiberglass, and then hopefully being able to pull this part out of the mold so that we don't damage either the part or the mold. But for that one, you have to wait till next time. Thanks for sticking around with us, and we'll catch you again real soon. Take care.